You have hundreds of Instagram followers. You curate your stories and you're doing everything right. Then why can't you call anyone at 2 a.m. in the morning? The temptation is to see this as like a personal failure, but it's actually a cultural phenomenon. As we all know, we as humans thrive on face-to-face connection. Real friendships, the ones that keep you alive, require vulnerability, time, face-to-face connection. And we have somehow engineered both out of our modern life with algorithms and AI. Have we traded depth for breadth? Have we entered an era where we treat people like followers instead of friends? Research has shown that adult friendships are actually dying. Women are losing best friends to marriage, kids, moves. Men are reporting the worst friendship recession in 50 years. And the ones we keep sometimes are actually toxic, and then we're too afraid to leave. So I'm asking the questions that you're maybe scared to ask. Let's go. Hi everyone, this is part of a new series called Pick My Brain, where you ask and I answer. And I want to answer your questions about all things neuroplasticity related, and hopefully we can get some good conversations going in the comments. We're going to answer some questions today from listeners that have already sent some questions in. Real questions, real answers. We'll tackle the Instagram paradox, the friend drift after life changes, when friendship becomes actually harmful, when it's toxic, and why friend breakups actually wreck us more than romantic ones. And then we'll go a little deeper about codependent patterns disguised as loyalty and jealousy that eats you alive, and what happens to men in isolation. And then the whole loneliness epidemic that we hear so much about. And I mean that literally. Research shows isolation kills faster than smoking. And how do you actually make friends when you're 40 and forgot how? One of my clients asked me that the other day. Okay, here's the first short question from a listener. I have 500 Instagram friends and 0 people I can call at 2 a.m. When did this happen? Okay, let's answer that. Social media designed you this way on purpose. Your brain's friendship neurocircuitry response, we actually have a whole neurocircuitry response for friendship. We're wired for love, we're wired for friends. They all light up fastest with real presence. So in other words, they don't work properly on Instagram, they work properly face to face. So a like on Instagram does not trigger oxytocin the way, for example, eye contact does. And research actually seems to show that one's brain can only encode a certain amount of genuine friendships. It seems to be around 150 over a lifetime. Beyond that, it's not really working. So where should you start? Friendships need attention, and attention is finite. Therefore, you can't have a million friends that you're going to really connect with properly, that eye-to-eye contact, that across-the-table contact. So what the research shows is that we have 1 to 3 really close friends, 5 to 10 friends, and then 10 plus acquaintances. I lost my best friend when she got married. She just drifted, and I'm still here. Oh, I'm sorry that happened. Hard when that happens, and this is not the first time I've heard this. Now, it's really hard, but it isn't unique. When life restructures, like marriage, kids, new job, moving to a new place, friendships that require that weekly coffee, that eye contact that we were just speaking about, they shift into these annual texts and we drift apart. And the key thing here is that nobody really grieves this properly. It is a form of grief. It's a loss. You're supposed to be happy for her, and you are. You're not supposed to notice that you're alone, but you are. And the hard part, sometimes she's truly gone. Not in the romantic breakup sense, but in the structure of how your life has reorganized, hers and yours. And it's just like you've grown apart. That meant your life reorganized. She had to choose, and she chose her family unit. You had to reorganize how you were going to respond to that. So you're not replaceable. The friendship was real, but logistics do actually matter. We do need that ability to build those friendships. So if the friendship required for her to be flexible and she's no longer flexible, that is a loss. That's not betrayal. You need to grieve the loss. Here's the next question. I think my best friend is actually toxic, but she's still all I have. Okay, stop right there. Listen to the statement that you've just made. You said, that's all I have. This statement's what's keeping you stuck. You've compromised because you're scared to be alone. You've made this one relationship. Of course, it's toxic because it's under that kind of pressure. Toxic friendships do reshape your brain in the wrong way. They drown your amygdala with threat detection because it's not authentic, it's not honest. You're compromising yourself. And that puts you into constant toxic stress around someone who's supposed to steady you, who's supposed to listen to you, not you always just listening to them, who's supposed to support you and help you and not make it all about them. I know leaving is scary, especially when it's someone who's been so close to you and you feel like you're so reliant on them. But her dysfunction became your familiar, and that familiarity isn't good. And in this instance, because you are compromising being yourself to keep her happy, this is really toxic. It's actually creating more damage and blocking your ability to make other friends. So you need to restructure the network you built around this friendship. We literally build each other into each other's brains. And this does take time. It's going to take around 63 days, around 9 weeks. And there's going to be a lot of ups and downs in the process, which is hard, but it is a normal part of the process. Next question. Why did my friend breakup hurt worse than my divorce? The pain of losing a friendship can actually exceed the pain sometimes of a romantic breakup because it comes without a lot of social scaffolding. And what I mean by that is that you don't get the same kind of support with a friendship breakup than you do with something like a divorce or a romantic break. For example, when people get divorced, people ask how you're doing. They validate the loss. They listen to you. There's like an acknowledgement. But when you lose a best friend, you're supposed to just move on. So the grief kind of gets stuck. When you lose a best friend, you're supposed to pretend it's fine, but the networks were created. They're still there. Now they're calling out to each other. Now it's not there. So there's still pain, which is the same as pain in a divorce. Friendship loss activates your physical brain centers. So your brain is literally in pain, which means your body's in pain. And you're supposed to function normally. You're supposed to just be polite about it and brush it aside. And why are you making such a fuss? You're supposed to pretend it didn't matter. But your mind treats it like a damaged bone because the friendship network in your brain is as real as a bone. Thoughts occupy mental real estate. Guys, the thoughts that you built around that friendship are made of proteins and chemicals, and they're in your brain and in your body. And they activate that pain center in the insular and the singular gyrus. So it's a broken protein network. Like a broken arm hurts, a broken protein network of that friendship also hurts. And here's a little bit of the twist. Social pain cannot be relieved in a way that physical pain cannot. Years later, you might see her name or see something come up and remind you of her, and you can feel that ache again because the past never goes away, but we have to learn to reconstruct it. Your mind can reactivate the neural map of that loss, and until we've managed it, it stays there. The best friends that we lose, they're not just one person either. When you lose a best friend, you often lose the whole social constellation around her, and you lose her friends, and everything changes so much. You lose the identity of the person who knows you best. You lose your kind of safe place to be yourself, to be fully yourself. And that's a compounded grief that we don't really have words for. It also makes you question yourself, like, what's wrong with me? Why did this friendship end? Am I not capable of forming a friendship? There's a lot of that questioning of who you are. Am I not likable? Is it always going to be like this? Can I make a new friend? And as you work through the loss, it's a grieving and it's a restructuring that has to happen. So you need to let it matter. You need to give yourself grace. You need to grieve it fully. Don't minimize the friendship just because it ended. You're going to have to actually reconceptualize and reconstruct how you're going to function moving forward. Next question. I'm jealous of my friend's success and I hate myself for it. What does that make me? Okay, listen, thank you for saying brave. We love our friends, but sometimes something happens and you feel jealous of them. So what is going on here? You know the story. She got the promotion. She met someone. She's traveling and you'd love to travel like that. And you don't want to feel resentment and jealousy, but you do. So what's the neuroscience behind this? Okay, so it lights up this codependency that you have, lights up your brain like addiction. Not metaphorically, literally. So when you structure your life around a friend's needs, you wire in a pattern into your mind-brain-body network that messes with the dopamine, almost like creating a dependency. You're dependent on their attention. So when the tension is pulled away, you have this whole hitch with your chemicals. And then that makes you feel really, it contributes to your anxiety. The caretaking floods you with feel-good hormones. So in a friendship, when you have a good relationship with your friends and you caretake for each other, then things like oxytocin and dopamine will flow. And you become chemically rewarded for managing them, fixing them potentially helping you. But the thing is, if you're staying small so that they can be big, you're just going to get a little burst. But because it's not authentic, it's not. And when they don't reciprocate, because it's always got to be a reciprocation for a decent friendship, then all those chemicals in your body and proteins and things they don't work that well. So the resentment can feel like withdrawal because you're now consciously building a new thought pattern based on this change. And this whole restructuring affects the protein networks and your chemistry. So everything gets mixed up. And you're missing the chemical from being needed. but that chemical rush was distorted and wasn't sustainable. So it's not that you hate your friend. You are going through a process of rewiring, and it's a change that isn't comfortable and it does take time. Also, jealousy is another thing about jealousy is it's data. So every time you do feel a surge of jealousy, what you need to do is to see it as data for yourself to analyze. What is the jealousy telling you about your life? Be curious. Why does their success threaten you? There's something in there that can help you grow. So focus on the data that jealousy gives you to help you grow. So this will help you celebrate her, which will in turn improve your mental health and boost creativity because you'll shift from the fawning, the fawn response where you just try and please her, into being more authentic to yourself. You'll put a little boundary up. So the fix isn't to resent her less. It's to build a life that doesn't require her to remain small to make you feel better because you are making yourself small to keep her happy. Maybe you also over-invested in the friendship where you've made their win your loss. So you've made it a zero-sum game where you're dependent on them staying less so that you need to feel secure. And so this is another angle. And this is also data that you can use without beating yourself up and bashing yourself on the head. You can use that data to see what is it that you need from that friendship. That's something that you need in your life to restore that balance. So real friendship celebrates without diminishing. And if you're battling, you may have something going on that has nothing to do with her. Maybe you've built an entire identity around managing someone else's needs. That's not selfishness. That's like a self-preservation pattern, and it's changeable once you recognize it. So there's a few options that you have there. Okay, next question. This is a good one. My husband has no close friends. He comes home early and sits. Am I watching him die slowly from isolation? I'm really worried. The story behind this, 20 years of marriage, he comes home and sits, no close friends, just silence, and you're terrified it's killing him. Now, the statistics are pretty scary, so I'm going to start with some scary stuff and then we'll talk about a solution. In 1990, 55% of men reported having at least 6 close friends. Today, only 27% report that they have at least 6 close friends. The percentage of men with 0 close friends went from 3% to 15%. That's a 5-fold increase. This is an isolation that looks like choice, but is actually a cultural failure. Men internalize this message many decades, and it's got to change. What they internalize is sharing feelings is a weakness, totally wrong. Vulnerability is exposure, totally wrong. Real connection requires the exact thing they've been taught to suppress. So they stop trying. They come home to their partners and their partners become their only social outlet. And that's not sustainable. It's terrifying for the partner to watch it happen. We need each other as partners, but we also need our friends. It's all part of our whole development. And when they misfold, they cause inflammation. And when that happens, that sends messages to places like the amygdala that something's wrong. It's like mixed signals. And it doesn't activate like it normally would in a friendship. And it goes into threat detection. It goes into a low-grade activation around a social connection. So it's all wrong. So the wrong message is coming through. So that means things like dopamine won't be released through the peer bonding because they're not having the peer bonding. Peer bonding stabilizes friendships. It helps to. It's not the only thing that does it, but when we work at our friendships, then dopamine is released to stabilize, goes into those networks to stabilize them. And so if he doesn't have that, it makes it more difficult because he doesn't know how to maintain friendships. You've got to have a few networks built with friendships and then you can build more. You've got to start somewhere. Things like oxytocin, that creates trust and bonding. If you haven't built a good friendship, it's just not going to be sufficient. When I first started my podcast, I remember sitting there thinking, what if no one listens? What if this totally flops? There's so much uncertainty when you start something new. And honestly, that doubt can be the hardest part. But taking that leap ended up being one of the best decisions that I have made. And having the right tools would have made it a whole lot less stressful. And that's where Shopify comes in. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the United States, from huge brands to people just getting started. And what I love is how it simplifies everything. You can build a beautiful online store with ready-to-use templates that actually match your brand. And they've got built-in AI tools that help you write product descriptions, create page headlines, even enhance your product photos. So you're not stuck doing everything manually. Plus, Shopify helps you get your business out there with easy email and social media campaigns. And it handles everything in one place, from inventory to payments to analytics. No juggling a bunch of different platforms. And if you ever get stuck, they have 24/7 customer support, which is really huge when you're figuring things out as you go. So it's time to turn those what ifs into your dream with Shopify today. Sign up for your $1 per month trial today at shopify.com/leaf. Go to shopify.com/leaf. That's shopify.com/leaf. It's rare that a sponsor story really sticks with me, but this one genuinely did, especially with how much noise there is right now around metabolism and what actually works. So this podcast is sponsored by Veracity. It was founded by Ellie Egan, a certified hormonal health coach, and she spent years dealing with undiagnosed Hashimoto's, and that impacts the thyroid and metabolism. And after turning to functional medicine to address the root causes, she was able to take back control of her health. And that's what inspired Veracity. The whole idea is delivering real, accurate solutions you can actually trust. Their most popular product is Metabolism Ignite, and I started using it recently. Just 2 capsules with breakfast. What stood out to me was how steady my energy felt throughout the day. It's simple, easy to stay consistent with, and it fits right into my routine. It's made with ingredients like lemon verbena, hibiscus extract, green coffee bean extract, and magnesium. It's caffeine-free, and clinical trials showed no negative side effects from the ingredients. Plus, if you are using a GLP-1 medication, it's designed to be safe alongside them. What I like most, that it feels like a balanced, realistic option. No extremes. Basically just something that supports your body in a very straightforward way. So learn from Ali and make the switch to Veracity. Head to veracityhealth.co and use the code Dr. Leaf for up to 65% off your order. Once again, that's VERACITY health.co for up to 65% off. And make sure you use my promo code Dr. Leaf, DRLEAF, so they know I sent you. So the loneliness epidemic is hitting men harder because they were never really taught the emotional vocabulary. They were taught to be providers, not friends, and now in a culture where work is fragmented and office friendships are harder to build, they've become isolated. If this is your husband, the fix isn't you becoming his entire social world. Learning that vulnerability with men doesn't make him weak, it actually makes him strong and it makes him human. When I got married, everything changed. My friends couldn't compete. Did I make a mistake choosing this life? Your friends couldn't compete with your husband's schedule. When kids arrived, they completely disappeared. Now you realize your entire adult life is like orbits around one person and 2 children or whatever it is your dynamic is. So very often women are sacrificing friendships at the altar of having it all. The husband, the children, great wife, great mother, great professional. But you can't do all of that if you're putting this pressure on you, because time is finite, energy is finite, so you've got to choose. And usually you're going to choose the relationships that demand the most. Marriage demands presence, children demand everything. Friendships, they can wait. But this is the wrong attitude, guys, because they really can't wait. Yes, you choose your husband and your children, but you also have to choose you. And part of choosing you is choosing friendships. You can, when you get your mind around this, you can always carve out time. You need peer connection to make you a whole person, to make the whole wide, full of nature of your psychoneurobiology, which is your mind-brain-body connection, function properly. So it's really not a luxury. Actually, like fuel, friendships are like fuel. So just on a sciencey side, your prefrontal cortex, which is over here, which activates when we start emotionally regulating and thinking things through, it gets very activated. Now, for it to work properly, it depends on a healthy brainwave flow that stabilizes it. And relationships, friendship relationships help with that flow, help the prefrontal lobe to work in a much better way. That's why I say it's like gas for the car. And then that then stimulates cortisol and adrenaline and oxytocin and dopamine and anandamide, all these great chemicals to flow like they should. And then when your kids hit school age, you realize you've got no friends. The women you were close to have moved on. They built their friendships around people who were available. So here's the neuroscience. Your brain needs multiple attachment figures, not just one part, not just peers. You need the whole balance. People who challenge you, people who see you, people you can talk to about things that you don't talk to your kids and your partner about. People who also aren't your responsibility. You support your friends, but your husband and children, or wife and children, or partner and children are your responsibility. So the fix isn't adding more to your plate. The fix is recognizing that friendship is a need, not a luxury. That's really key here. And protecting time for it the way you protect time for your family. So start small. One friend, one standing date, and don't apologize for it. Here's the next question. I read something about loneliness killing faster than smoking. Is that real or just hype? Vivek Murthy, he declared that loneliness was a public health epidemic, and I totally agree, because of the impact our mind experiences have on our biology. In other words, when we don't have friends and we are lonely, it does affect our biology. I've shown this in my research as well. Social disconnection increases your risk of depression, anxiety, suicide, because it disrupts our biology and creates a feedback loop in the mind-brain-body connection that is overpoweringly hard to deal with. So research has also shown that it also increases your risk of heart disease, stroke, dementia, premature death. This is research. We really can't take friendships as a luxury. The mortality impact is actually on par with smoking. So if you smoke 15 cigarettes a day, we know that it's going to be bad for your health. Not having friends is going to be as bad for your health. And that's not poetic language. It's actually epidemiology. And here's why. Humans evolve for social bonding. It's how we are designed and structured. All your brain and body was built to regulate through connection. It was wired. If we stay isolated, our body suffers. Basic principle. But you can't be disconnected from reciprocal relationships. We need to have these healthy reciprocal relationships so that your entire mind, brain, body stays activated in the correct way. So this keeps you in a chronic toxic stress state and literally damages your cardiovascular circuitry, your heart. It also inflames your brain. And where there's inflammation, there's disease. That's why dementia is one of the outcomes and one of the diseases that can form. Your immune function weakens, you get sick. The research is showing that this is happening at scale. Some recent research showed that 21% of adults reported feeling lonely within the previous 30 days. And people ages 30 to 44 recorded the highest levels at 29%. And in some age groups, that's nearly 1 in 3 people reporting significant loneliness. The pandemic accelerated this, we all know, but it didn't cause it. The cause is in our structural, our socioeconomic and sociostructural environment. We work longer hours, we move more frequently, we're less likely to join civic organizations, churches, unions, etc., book clubs, doing things together as families. We're less likely to hang out in local bars or coffee shops. This is what we've got to do. But we've outsourced intimacy to social media and texting, and that is just not going to do it. Your brain and body suffer. The people I work with, 40-plus-year-old professionals, are successful by every metric, and they are reporting unprecedented isolation. They've got work friends, but those close, intimate friends, they don't have those. They have online communities, but not local ones, where you could just go out for dinner and go do something fun. So they're connected, but they're alone at the same time. The paradox is also that we've built a machine that's designed to isolate us. Now, that's not smart. And then we act shocked when isolation damages us. So we've built a whole structural society around being separate, being busy, being more and more productive, in inverted commas, and then isolation occurs and then it damages us. Okay, here's the next question. I'm 40. I have 0 close friends. Everyone seems to have their people already. Is it too late? Fortunately, it's never too late. Everyone has their people already. That story. You're too tired. Everyone's too busy. You don't know where to start. Okay, friendship doesn't have an age limit. You can make a friend at any age and with any age. But the pathway does definitely change. So when you're young, it's so easy because you're at school, you're at university, you go to college, you go to work, you see the same people. Even when you have kids, there's the chance to make friends with people that have other kids' birthday parties and that sort of thing. So the repetition, so that kind of repetition builds the neural pathways for bonding. But around 40-ish, you have to engineer that more for yourself because people have got established in their routines and their families and they maybe don't socialize as much. And then the whole cultural phenomenon that we've been talking about, that's changed the structure. So it's not that easy, especially in countries like the United States, to really have that social bonding and form those friendships. So here's the neuroscience. You have neurons called mirror neurons, and these are the ones that fire up with empathy. They need real-time activation. They need face-to-face interaction. They need vulnerability. They need time. So if you don't have that one-on-one interaction, then these things don't work properly. The bonding hormone doesn't get released properly. And that gets released through touch, eye contact, and shared experiences, not through texting, not through liking someone's Instagram post, etc. So the first fix is you're going to have to show up in person. You're going to have to make the effort. And even if it's just with one. So if there is something that's going on after work and you can go hang out and you don't feel like, do it. Join something. Go to the after work hangout. Join a book club physically, a running group, a yoga class. Join something because you'll love the activity, but also because you're going to have that contact with people. And because it is happening here, you all like whatever you're doing. So there's something in common. But because you see the same people repeatedly, you're building this network and the network's growing. And when you've done it a little bit, it's easier to take the next step, which is a deeper relationship. So you just keep adding on networks, adding on little protein branches that build the friendship. And then you can take it to the next thing. You can be a little bit more vulnerable, tell someone the truth, not your whole story, maybe just a small truth, just to build a little bit of trust that grows more great networks onto this friendship branch. It might be something like, I'm nervous starting this new job, or I haven't done this in 10 years. I'm not so sure I'm going to be good at it. So you share that and they feed back and there's reciprocity, small exposure. And then you learn to wire that in. You learn that it's safe. They feed back. You actually enjoyed it. And then week after week, within 9 weeks, you will have restructured your friendship circuitry back to what it was designed to be. So now you've built this one friendship, and then your mirror neurons start firing when you see them. And that causes oxytocin to start releasing, which then makes the network even stronger. And you have started building a bond. And once you've built one friendship, it's so much easier to do it the second time. It does take at least 9 weeks, which is about 3 months, of consistent presence and practice to rebuild that friendship network. Do it with one at a time. And once you've built one, you can build another one. So the hard part isn't understanding the friendship. The hard part is doing it consistently when your body wants to protect itself through isolation because it feels scary, especially in the building phase. It goes up and down. But once you've done it, you've got it. It's a network. You own it. It's in you. You can then use it to build other friendship networks. I'm 45. My best friend of 20 years is emotionally abusive. Why can't I leave? I'm so sorry that this has happened to you. That's really not at all healthy to be in an abusive relationship, as we all know. And we often wonder, why do we get stuck there? 20 years and she's abusive, but losing her becomes more terrifying than staying. This is a kind of distorted codependency at its deepest, most toxic level. You've been with her for so long that you don't even remember who you are without her. You know, midweek hits differently. You're tired, you're hungry, and honestly, you're tired of making the same 5 meals on rotation. I get it. But here's the thing. There's this part of you that's been craving something different. I know I do. Something adventurous in the kitchen. And that's where HelloFresh comes in. You can cook up bold flavors from around the world without ever leaving your kitchen. We are talking Vietnamese, Moroccan, Caribbean cuisine, 80 plus global recipes every single month. I just got this incredible basil pesto pasta with chicken, and it was absolutely delicious. And the best part, all the stress is gone. No recipe hunting, no ingredient sourcing. Everything arrives at your door, pre-proportioned and ready to go. So imagine cooking with lemongrass, curry paste, ingredients that usually mean takeout, but you're doing it at home because nothing hits like home cooking. Let's face it. I use this and you should try it. So go to hellofresh.com/drleaf10fm now to get 10 free meals, amazing, plus a free NutriBullet Ultra Plus 2-in-1 compact kitchen system, a $189.99 value on your third box. Free meals are applied on a discount on the first box, new subscribers only, and it varies by plan. Disclaimer, you must order the third box by May 31st, 2026. I have tried a lot of body care over the years, like shelves full, and I always end up circling back to Osea. There's just something about reaching for a product that consistently makes my skin look more radiant and feel smoother, and it turns a basic routine into a moment I actually look forward to. These seaweed-powered, clinically tested formulas are designed to deliver visible results, and honestly, it does show. Plus, they've got a full lineup, so no matter what your routine looks like, there is something that fits. Lately, I've been especially into Osea's Andaria Algae Body Oil. It's one of their best sellers, and it even won a 2025 Allure Best of Beauty Award. It's lightweight, it's fast-absorbing, it's not greasy at all, and it leaves my skin with this really beautiful, healthy-looking glow. The texture was the first thing that really got me. It just melts in, and I usually apply it right after showering. And I notice my skin feels softer and smoother and just more subtle almost immediately. So it's become part of my wind down ritual. And it really helps create that sense of calm and serenity at the end of a busy day. And the results are backed up. A 2-week clinical study showed that 100% of participants had improved moisturization and elasticity, and they agreed that their skin felt softer, smoother, and looked firmer. So, get a spring-worthy glow with clean, clinically tested skincare from Osea. And right now, we have a special discount just for our listeners. You can get 10% off your first order site-wide with the code LEAF, L-E-A-F, at oseamalibu.com. You start compromising. You make compromises, like you'll say things to yourself like, she's very demanding, but if I think 4 positive thoughts about her every day, then she's going to be fine. This is what one of my clients actually said to me recently, and they're in an abusive relationship. But that's just trying to convince himself because they've had years of an abusive relationship. Thinking 4 positive things means you're still doing the work and you still are stuck in that place. And in your brain, basically, you are, even though you're trying to say 4 positive things, your amygdala has been activated by your non-conscious mind, your deepest part of you, to say, hey, this is not healthy. So she hurts you, then she comforts you, then there's intermittent reinforcement. It's that narcissistic type situation. Your brain became addicted to that cycle. So you hold out for the good times, and when the good times happen, that causes all this dopamine rush and network firing, and you build this distorted network that feels okay for a moment. The negative side comes back. And so your brain is literally in an addiction loop. And you're afraid to leave because leaving means that it feels so hard. Your brain's got to rewire. And when it rewires, like addicts go through withdrawal, it's painful. That's literally what you're doing. When someone is addicted to a drug of some sort, it builds an addictive network. So when they withdraw, the brain's got to regrow proper networks. You are regrowing a new network, and that's painful, scary, feels different. So you think, oh, there's something wrong. I must stay. I must go back. It was better that way. But if you push through, you're going to rewire that network. You'll get through the hard times, and you'll realize that what you were experiencing wasn't love. It wasn't a reciprocal relationship. It was a kind of trauma bond, and the path out is hard, but you can do it. And when you are out of it and you look back, you'll see your nervous system feels like it's screaming at you that you're making a mistake. Go to the depth of who you are and ask yourself, what do you really want? What do you really need? What do you really value? Do you like feeling like this? It's starting to be curious with yourself and ask those questions. You literally will be escaping a cage, and the version of you that emerges on the other side, regulated, whole, unburdened, will be worth this detox. You're literally going to go through a detox. If I'm honest, I'm still angry at a friend who left me 15 years ago. Why can't I let it go? 15 years is a long time, and you've never told anyone about the anger that hasn't moved. Grief that never gets witnessed becomes resentment. Loss that never gets acknowledged becomes anger. Both are valid. Both are networks in your brain that were never resolved. They stayed in this toxic form. Your brain still holds that neural map of that friendship, and that neural map was never fully dealt with. So there was the friendship that when it was okay, and then there was the part built onto that. Think of it like a tree, and there's green part, and then there's all the toxic parts, the thorny parts. And none of it was resolved. It was still this network that was operating in this distorted way. So it still expects you to be there because you never reprocessed or restructured and dealt with the change. And so when you encounter the absence, that network makes your whole nervous system in your brain and your body go into threat mode. And you operate from that automatic state year after year. And until you consciously make a decision to stand back and observe how you're showing up, this is going to carry on and on. And as you observe how you're showing up, the idea there is that you can't change what happened, but there's an important, you need to analyze, this was good, this was bad, this is what it did to me, this is how I'm going to move on, and this is, I can't change that, but how do I want that into my future? Don't make yourself wrong for still caring. Some friendships do actually sometimes just end. You grow apart, you move forward. That doesn't make the friendship that you had meaningless. It just meant that it was time to move on. You've grown, one or both of you. So honor what the friendship meant to you. Say her name, say his name. Write that letter you never sent. Cry, rage, let your body register the loss fully. And then, only then, you can begin to actually metabolize it. And metabolizing brain language means you're going to now restructure those and make them into a healthy network. That does take time. It is hard, but you can do it, and it's so worth it. You move from carrying her or him as an unresolved wound to holding them as a chapter in your life that mattered and that you grew from. So much healthier. Here's what I know for certain. You didn't lose your friends because you weren't enough. You lost them because we've constructed a culture that treats friendship like a luxury, an essential part of your human development. Not a decoration, it's medicine. I mean, friendships are literally medicine. Your nervous circuitry needs it. Your immune function, it literally depends on it. Your cardiovascular function depends on it. Your ability to think clearly, regulate emotion, maintain cardiovascular health, all of it lives inside stable friendships. As the Surgeon General said, the research backs it up. We are more connected than ever in history and deeply lonely at the same time. What a paradox. So what now? Stop apologizing for needing people. Stop treating friendships as something you can outsource to Instagram followers. Stop expecting one person to meet all your relational needs. Start looking at where you've confused codependency with loyalty, where you've mistaken obligation for love, where you've accepted crumbs for someone. Start telling the truth about friend breakups. There are real losses that you need to grieve. They deserve real grief so that you can process. They did hurt. So when you pull apart, the networks are calling to each other. They need grieving and for resolution and restructuring. And if you're a man or married to one, start recognizing that isolation is a public health crisis. It's a biological signal of disconnection that our culture has mislabeled and ignored. Make friends intentionally. Make it like a goal. Show up repeatedly. Be vulnerable. Be present. Build slowly. You don't have to do it all at once. Make a plan. Do it slowly. And if you're still sitting with the anger at a friend who left you years ago, that's not pathology, but you do need, that's your heart insisting that the connection mattered. The loss and the meaning. You are wired for love. You're wired for friendships.
Just talk a little bit about this. Pick My Brain.
I'm really excited about this Pick My Brain series. Thanks for listening to this, and thank you that I know you're going to send in lots of questions. If you like this format, send us the questions, give us your feedback. There's so many topics we can cover, and I'll do my best to handle them. But it's really great for you to guide me to what you want. Thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you next time.